the 6. The shield of David is the 5 point, but the seal of David is the 6. Right? So they using both of the symbols. The one represents man, one represents woman. Right? So you have to find the balance between the two. Unless you turn out to be a sissy. Not meaning homosexual, a sissy as in you can't control your emotions, you can't control your fiery masculine energy. You collapse. It doesn't work for you.
Mm.
Right? You feel more comfortable being told what to do than to tell somebody what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You undervalue yourself, but you don't know you undervalue yourself because you believe your confidence is high. Mm-hmm. That's what you call self-delusion. That's what we call shadow work, is facing those types of thinking patterns. Right? So you say, well, if not me, then who? Whatever the problem is, that's the first thing you're supposed to ask. Mm-hmm. If not me, then who gonna fix it?
Right.
Right? Most of the time, it ain't gonna be no or who. It's just gonna be you. Because most of the time, it's gonna be your problem. Now, you might want to bring other people in to aid and assist you, but most motherfuckers don't want no parts of your problem. They just want you to fix theirs.
Earlier, I asked you, I think, because I asked you 2 questions. I don't think you touched on the question of Mexico being the most visited country with UFOs. Is there any truth to that statement?
Look, they everywhere. I can't say that they're the most visited. They might be the most visible.
Yeah.
Because the people there kind of like more closer to the earth roots. They not as like fearful energy as the cities.
Right.
You see, they put us in these cities, concrete jungles, and keep us in a state of fear for primitive responses to the environment. It's a brilliant oppression plan. It's just time for us to break it. The cities are in the wrong structure for mass human interaction because it's designed to create hostilities between people.
So you feel as though we should be leaving the cities? You think we should be leaving these cities and moving back to nature?
We should be going back to. So it's not practical to say everybody leave the city. It's not going to happen.
Right.
But what's practical is this: everybody who remain in the city need to be connected to somebody that they can get out of the city for periods of time to reload and to resync with nature. Right? Okay. We need to be reestablishing family bonds. So the number one piece of advice I've been giving the young chiefs, asking me what can they do, is this: speak to somebody in your family that you know they're related to you, but you never had a conversation with them. Give them 30 minutes of your time, call them up.
Yeah.
You know, get to know a new family member at least once a week.
Okay. Shit.
Guess what? When you do this connection with the family like that, you know, they're going to call you back.
Right.
In a week or so, hey, I was just thinking about you, figure I'd call you back. Right? But you becoming a pivotal building block to your family structure being restored. And it's going to go back to a particular matriarch. Right? And that's where the family lines are going to go back to. I'm not sure who the matriarchs are in the history books yet, but it ain't gonna be no secret. Ain't no more secret squirrel shit. You know, if a motherfucker charge you $385 million to run a motherfucking freeway through here, we want to know if he got his money. How you paying? See, part of the redemption process, because you got to remember, they had us in salvage right laws under admiralty jurisdiction, under the pretense that our landmass crashed into their ship, the good ship Plymouth, what we call the Mayflower. Now, why do we call a ship the Mayflower that was named the Plymouth? And who changed the name? You see what I'm saying? Because it's a reason for that. What Malcolm say? We didn't land on Plymouth Rock.
Plymouth Rock landed on us.
What the fuck is Malcolm talking about? He's talking about the jurisdiction of the court case. In the jurisdiction of the court case, They are the ones claiming we crashed our landmass into their ship. Everybody know it's preposterous that the ship have to crash into the landmass. Right? So this is what he's talking about. The negotiate. I'm sitting here going over this earlier today. Let me show you. I was over this, right? And I was reading, going back to, I done read this stuff multiple times already, but I was going back through the Treaty of Peace and Friendship and what was inspiring it and what was they talking about. And we didn't have anybody representing us. It didn't have anything to do with us. It was the corporate America making a deal with the Sultan of Morocco in a protectorate order. And I don't know how the fuck he was gonna have a protectorate, but anyway, it go back to Saudi Arabia. You had to go to Saudi Arabia to get the emperor to unseal whatever the agreement was. Right. So when I was going through that earlier, I couldn't believe what I was reading because it was blatantly what ended up having to be done. And I remember it's a part 6 of the agreement. I think it is.
All right, my fault, brother.
Yeah. I was looking in here because it was somewhere in this agreement, and I'm gonna show you something.
Okay.
Yeah, part 6 of the agreement on the Treaty of Peace and Friendship. And it was talking about returning to you what's yours. Anybody who can find somebody that's organic to the land, right? Now they calling them, if any more shall bring citizens of the United States or their effects to His Majesty, the citizen shall immediately be set at liberty and the effects restored. And in like manner, if any more, not a subject of these dominions, shall make prize of any of the citizens of America or their effects and bring them into any of the ports of His Majesty, they should be immediately released. This is the carryover from that agreement with George Washington and the Feathers versus the Fezes. Fairkind went to Mecca 3 years ago to cash in an order on that part we just read. Yeah. Because if you can prove who you is, then you can get them to get off your land. But you got to go back to the source of the document. And the Sultan Aziz of Saudi Arabia is the one who was originally responsible for it. So who's the heir? If you go watch Farrakhan's video from 3 years ago when he went to Mecca, you see him go in these big ass doors. He's going to close the contract for us. He's going to get he literally going above the fucking Pope head to get our shit. An emperor is bigger than a king. Right? So he went to an emperor's heir to honor the emperor's word to restore the organic people back to their rightful place. But none of the Moors seem to know any of this.
Why don't the Moors know about this?
Because they're too busy arguing dogma and they're not following the civics. You got to understand civics to the degree where you know how to assert your sovereign jurisdiction as a pretender to the throne.
Right.
Right? Then you got to identify the throne. Then you got to identify your organic land that you're from. Right? And then you got to identify your cause for jurisdiction. Once you do these things, and it's verified because only certain people communicate a certain way. Remember, they know who the next Dalai Lama is within 5 years. Every day they go out and they look up at the sky and they hold their hands up And when they get a response, they go mount up the Tibetan monks and they go find this kid, and then they lay all these artifacts out in front of him.
Mm.
And he can only pick his from past lives. They gotta always have been one of his items, and they come from different past lives. So he picked the right items.
Mm.
He the Dalai Lama.
Mm.
He picked one thing wrong, he ain't the Dalai Lama.
Mm.
Right? So the same way that energy comes back, you can read it by knowing the zodiac signs and the charts. You can know whose energy is returning and where it's going to return at. So this is why it's talking about falling stars and shit. Right? They're not necessarily talking about falling stars. They should be telling you count the meteors, count the asteroids. A lot of the asteroids come in cycles because they're going in a big orbit around the Earth or around the solar system for that matter. Right? And then they come back close enough where we can get to see them flying across the sky and they're looking like a flash of light. Right? So now NASA is trying to figure out if they can use an explosion in space to redirect a asteroid that's about to hit the Earth. It's possible.
Didn't they just collide with an asteroid? What happened with that?
Then man, that looked like CGI to me, and it sounded made up, like in the background, like it was some college kids having fun.
Yeah. Let's see let's see exactly what they say. NASA.
I posted it today.
Oh yeah.
I posted what they said. I gotta let people know what they're talking about, even if
they
don't, you know.
Definitely. All right, let me share this on the screen. Let's see exactly what NASA are talking about. They said NASA crashes DART spacecraft into asteroid in world's first planetary defense test.
Now I'm gonna tell you how you know that's a lie. Pull up Operation Star Wars.
They got video games and shit. They don't have in movies.
Put Ronald Reagan name behind it.
Why Reagan's Star Wars defense plan remained. Let me see. Reagan said he wanted to avoid nuclear Armageddon. Critics called the Strategic Defense Initiative far-fetched and expensive. So they already had a strategic defense, they saying. Okay. Ronald Reagan saw the proposed Strategic Defense Initiative as a safeguard against the most terrifying Cold War outcome, nuclear annihilation. When Reagan first announced SDI on March 23rd, 1983, he called upon the U.S. scientists who gave us nuclear weapons to turn their great talents to the cause of mankind and world peace, to give us the means of rendering these nuclear weapons impotent and obsolete. And it goes off. It goes on and on and on.
Okay, so let me give you a little history behind this Operation Star Wars. Operation Star Wars was a series of lasers put up on satellites around the world. And these lasers was to shoot down extraterrestrial craft. You can pull up the Ronald Reagan. He did a speech announcing the launching of Operation Star Wars and what its purpose was. Right? Because he was talking about what if some kind of catastrophe happened, where all of humanity had to pull together to fight some entity or being from another world. It was right in the Star Wars speech. Right? So they got these laser defenses and they have used them. And NASA has released various different videos of them trying to shoot craft out of the sky with the Star Wars technology. And that's why I said that other article was on some bullshit. Because I already know they've been using the Star Wars to try to shoot down craft.
Let me read one more paragraph from this NASA thing that they claiming what's going on. The space Okay. For the first time in history, a spacecraft from Earth has crashed into an asteroid to test a way to save our planet from extinction. The spacecraft, NASA's Double Asteroid Rendezvous Test Probe, slammed into a small asteroid 7 million miles from Earth tonight, September 26, and what the U.S. Space Agency has billed as the world's first planetary defense test. The goal to change the orbit of the space rock called Dimorphos around its larger asteroid parent Didymos, enough to prove humanity could deflect a dangerous asteroid if one was headed toward Earth. So they saying they trying to save Earth from these asteroids.
Yeah, but that's all just that's some bullshit.
Yeah,
they was fighting galactic wars. That shit over with now though. So they have to start leaking that information to soften up the public before they just come out. Donald Trump come on TV and say, yeah, for the last 50 years, we've been fighting these extraterrestrial motherfuckers that look like lizards that be sucking people blood, and they was the power structure we've been fighting the whole time. They're not going to do that. They're going to soft sell it to you and give you a little bit at a time. Fauci was a fraud. Hunter Biden was a cracked, addicted, corrupt individual who drug his father into dirty businesses practices around the world. They don't want to tell you that shit, but they're going to slow roll it out like that.
Wow. Yeah, that's the game. That's the games that they play. That's definitely the games that they play. I mean, you said earlier, all the masters are here right now because it's it's the end game. We want to see the work that we put in past lives. We want to see it come to fruition. Now, what about all the extras? The masters is here. Are all the entities from different? Does everybody come down here now? All the grays, the greens, the people David Icke talk about. Is everybody coming down here now? Because it's the final showdown on Earth.
And there are going to be some things that don't look like us walking around with us. But by that time, our consciousness will be evolved enough that we be able to see them in their true form. Right now, true form unknown.
Right.
Everything from fairies and gnomes to giants had to take a human body. Just the rules that we came in under this chapter of human history. It's the great book coming to a close. That's how they call it. The injustice was between Virgo and Scorpio. So they put Libra between Virgo and Scorpio. In ancient times, it was Virgo, Scorpio. Scorpio always served as the protector of the Virgo. Right? So when you bring in the balance back, you have to return the Scorpio and Virgo back to the same page where the energy is what you call the energy lock signature.
That's right. Funny. I'm a Virgo and you're a Scorpio. That's funny, man.
Yeah. Right. And look, and you sitting with your head in the sun.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you got the tiger on your cap. No cap.
No cap. Ain't that it's funny how it lines up, huh?
Yeah. And the alignment shows the singularity. The tiger represents the ancient Arabic nobles of the mystic shrine, and we've been talking about Farrakhan making pilgrimage to go over there to cash in that check. Right? To get us restored back to the land. To tell these motherfuckers that Tahuti back on the land. That's what he went to go tell them. Right? And he took a little book in his hand. I got the copy because I wrote the original. And so when he went over there and they was fucked up. So when he came back, he started making phone calls and making shit happen on the background. All of the chiefs that's been waiting, he's been putting them on alert. Soon as he get across to the people that this shit is a rap, to the level that the people can grasp that this shit is a rap, right? Then that's when we gonna blow the lid off this bitch. They gotta understand it because what they was doing is trauma binding people. And it's giving the world Stockholm syndrome. Right. And all of this trauma binding been coming up in the families as family quarrels. It ain't your family member that's really the problem. It's really somebody that's trying to put a wedge in the family. That one of y'all not honoring the respectful family bond. So y'all not gonna get along until both people bump straight. Right? So when the turnaround is when the mental acumen start to rise, because people want to know, well, I want to know more about my relatives. Like, I'm gonna call some of my cousins I ain't never talked to, some of my great aunties and uncles that's 90 years old that's about to croak, and get some of that family history before they slip up out of here.
Right, right.
Because they finna force a lot of elders out by rolling blackouts. That's their signals. They already told us they're gonna do it. We think they bluffing until they do it. They ain't bluffing. This is a spade game. This is the last hand. Who got the joker?
Let's
Where did they get a load of me?
Man, woo. This has been a powerful show, y'all. Shout out to everybody in the building. We got 4,500 people in here. We got a packed house in here. I want to, so many of y'all, I want to get to some questions before we get out of here. So at this time, give me some questions for the brother Rod Hayes. I seen somebody earlier ask about, hold up, let me put your cash app.
Hey, somebody said the Joker, aka Baron Samadi. That's the Lord that my big mama called me when I was a baby.